Sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry.
I'm always afraid I'm going to forget. Okay, now we're all set.
No sorries today. All right, I need to get a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting, which was September 30th.
I will make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from last meeting.
That's Carl. Jennifer, second.
Yep, I second.
All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Frank's here also?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you, Frank.
My day is going to be pretty crazy. I'm driving to Enfield during this meeting, so.
As long as you don't run into Joe Fazzino, he's driving also, and Carl also, so.
Then we'll have a real meeting.
Here you go.
I'm putting you back on mute until you need me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, minutes are accepted. Is John here yet?
He's trying. He just texted me. He's trying to get in, so skip the auto stuff for now.
Okay. That was my next. The comments or concerns. Okay.
Yeah, I just have to give him a few more minutes. He's trying to get in, I guess he said.
Are both of the minutes accepted from the 17th and the 30th? Because we had two sets of draft minutes to be.
17th. Let's see. Hold on, Karen.
So the 30th was the second we had.
Yes, the 17th had the PSI exam review with the workshops in it, just to refresh everyone's memory. And the email from Joe Fazzino to Matthew Sargent dated August 31st about the charter communications.
Yep.
So if I can get a motion to accept those.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. All right, here you go, Karen. The 17th is passed in the 30th.
Thank you.
And did I hear John in there?
We don't have John yet. We have Joe Fazzino.
Okay, I see Joe now. Okay. All right.
We don't have John yet.
He's not on yet?
No.
No, he's trying.
Okay, so if we have to wait for John, we're going to go to, is Janita still here?
Yes, you have both Pamela Brown, Director of Investigations, and Anita Hamill. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Janita will report out the report for cases that we've handled within this time frame.
Pulling it up.
Mr. Chairman, are there any questions?
Well, I've got many questions, but this is not the time or place for me to ask them.
Okay. Specific to the report?
I was involved in the Mr. Dale complaint.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I received all the documentation for it. So I think when if anybody want to address it, Jennifer, anyone?
Was that the one that you sent me to read?
Yes.
Did you talk to, well, I mean, that's up to you.
No, I haven't talked to anybody, and that's why I'm referring to you.
Well, I have somebody on for legal if you're concerned with it coming back to you as, you know.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, I think we do have someone on. They said from legal was listening in.
Well, Pamela's there, and
Well, there's Jerry Padula. That's
Jerry Padula's there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the attorney that we deal with for the occupational is Paulette Annan and Cynthia Fernandez.
Okay. Well, I tell you the truth, I was concerned about the letter that was written about me in plain English. And I was wondering if the Department of Consumer Protection does anything to protect the person that is making the complaint in any way possible.
Information contained in a complaint is considered an official document. It is public record.
Okay.
The same as if you would file a complaint against someone or a member of the public, that document becomes official state document. It stays there. And a response from a respondent, the same thing. It becomes an official document.
Well, to me, and this is only my opinion because it's about me, I was more thoroughly investigated in the letter than the complaint that I put in. And that's how I feel. Even as the chairman or even as a public member, that's how I feel. And I'm a little upset about it. And I wasn't going to bring this up today. I was going to talk to you separately, all of you.
Well, you're welcome to meet with us separately, but I would tell you that anything that comes out of, especially with Janita's leadership, is thoroughly investigated. I don't question their integrity or the work that they perform in that unit. And you may be seeing a reduction on that report of what has gone into it, but all parties have a right to file whatever it is they feel they need to file with us in response to an allegation that's raised. You can certainly send a rebuttal, if you like, in writing to be included as a part of that case.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we don't investigate the complainants. What we do is we are neutral, impartial fact finders. When the complaint comes in, a letter and a copy of the complaint goes to the respondent, and they are asked to provide a written response, licensing, and apprenticeship information based on the allegations that are made. We don't take sides. We can't take sides. I've worked here for almost 27 years, and I teach my investigators and inspectors, and I hold them to this highest standard that we are neutral, impartial fact finders. You put what you have in writing, they put what they have in writing. You get a copy of what they say. Like Pamela said, you disagree with what that man and his attorney wrote, you have every right to send in a rebuttal. We'll upload it to the file. But we have to look at it from not who said what about who. What do I have that I can prove that there was a licensing violation, and how do I move forward with that?
Okay, and I understand that. But I also understand that there was no site investigation. And I understand it would be because of COVID. I understand that, okay? But
okay, so that being said, and we do have PPE now, and we are out doing inspections, okay? I was on one with full PPE and was stopped at the gate because they had a medic there. I had to be tested. I had to be temperature checked and then sent to the GC's trailer before I could even move anywhere. Unfortunately, I've had a couple of inspectors on some other job sites like apartment complexes, and they are the only ones there wearing a mask. You know, at the time this came up, we had no PPE, and we were still under even stricter guidelines from the governor as far as who could go out and when. All right. So we have done the best that we can under the circumstance, because if there was no COVID, there would be no problem.
I understand that. And I applaud the fact that you guys are doing your job. Okay. Because we've always fought for you guys to do your job and get more people so you could do it. So
I know that, sir. I know that, Mr. Chairman. And if you want, you can email to me directly or to Pamela, she's my director, whatever rebuttal you want, and we will have it uploaded to the file.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Any more questions for Pamela or Janita?
No, I'm happy to see some things being done, so that's good.
Thank you. Well, Joe, I see you're on the screen. Anything else?
I just want to know if anything else has happened down in Stamford at the charter. Is that still status quo? If they don't believe that that work is licensable?
If it's an open investigation, we cannot talk about it in this forum.
So hi, it's Jessica with CGDA. So I have a question. CGDA filed a complaint last month on October 9th. I still don't have a case number, or it's not updated in the system at all. So how long does that process normally take? This is my first time doing it, so.
If you wouldn't mind, this is Janita Hamill. Can you email me?
Yeah.
What you sent?
Sure. What's
and I will look into it for you.
Oh, that would be great. What's your email?
It's Janita, JANITA .Hamill, HAMEL @CT.gov.
Perfect. I'll send it right over.
Realizing, of course, because I'm on this and I have a different screen up to discuss about the cases from the past 2 months, I will not see that email right away.
That's fine.
And Jessica, would you let Janita know which pathway you sent that complaint in? Was it online, email, or?
Yep, it was online through the website.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are handled by the complaint center.
Was it under your name or your company name?
Under CGDA. I'll send you all the paperwork and you can take a look at it. And if you need any other information from me, just let me know.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Any more questions for Pamela or Janita?
No.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate your efforts and your job. And under the circumstances, we understand what you're going through.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that. To all the board members and guests, thank you for giving us this time. And have a good Thanksgiving, all.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy holiday. Be safe, everybody over there.
You as well.
You too. Thank you.
You too.
Is John here yet?
I don't think so. He just texted.
He is.
Can you hear me?
John, are you here?
I am.
Thank you very much for being here. We have
my computer decided to do a major update, but I'm here.
I'm sure we all know how that goes. All right, so we're going to go back to comments and concerns of any person present today. John, there's Anita. I'm sorry, I can't see her last name.
Schepker.
Anita Schepker?
Schepker, yeah.
Okay. And you are, can I ask who you're with?
Yeah, so I mean, if you want me to speak now, I looked at the agenda. I'm an attorney at Capital Consulting, and one of our clients is Safe Flight Solutions. Been doing work with them for a while, and when the time was right, just wanted to go over. We've been listening now for the last few board meetings, been listening about legislation that was proposed in 2020, and was a little concerned about some misinformation, and spoke to Leslie O'Brien, who again from the DCP, and thought we should just sort of give you a history and let you know what's going on. That bill is long since died obviously in the General Law Committee when the building was shut down, but thought I would give you a history of why we have the bill here and what's been going on since 2016, if that's all right.
It is all right, but let me ask you, did you propose this bill to the legislature?
I did. If you want me to go to through the history now, we did, but this was after work from 2016, 2017, tornado storms in 2018. So we had been having conversations over the last 2 years, including members of the flat glass community, because DCP, we proposed it first, we went to DCP. Do you want me to do the history now? I'm glad to do that. Do you want me to go through the whole thing?
Yeah, it sounds great. This is John.
Yeah, because I think that's really important, Jen, as you know. So back in 2016, I think it was 2016, there were a whole bunch of storms and there was a backup of work being done in auto glass, which was fine. And there were some questions by legislators about why there was a backlog. And there was a backlog because there were big storms, and that's just the way it works. And then in 2018, I believe it was, there were those 2 tornadoes that hit in the state, and there was a lot of auto damage, including auto glass damage. And once again, some legislators approached us and said, you know, what are you doing to make sure your people can ramp up? And it became clear that we told them that to our knowledge, all the auto glass companies were doing the best job that they could, but that Connecticut was unique because Connecticut is the only state in the country that requires a license for auto glass work. Others require registration, et cetera. But that in other states, companies were allowed to bring employees who had the right qualifications to match the state and bring them in, similar to a utility company allowing people who are licensed in a particular way to come into another state. But that wasn't allowed in Connecticut because nobody else in other parts of the country or even neighboring states had an equivalent license. So that was the birth of this conversation starting in 2018. So we met with legislators, we met with the DCP. They asked us to talk to the Glass Board, which I know Scott Zeich had some conversations back in 2018. I was asked to speak to flat glass people. I can represent to you that I went to the lobbyist in 2018 and again in 2019 and again in 2020 to the flat glass people to say, this doesn't impact you at all. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to find a way in which that when there's a public health emergency, when there's an emergency, a weather-related emergency, and there is a backlog of claims, that people who are similarly licensed could come in. So we've had all those conversations. We set the groundwork. We met with DCP. We met with Leslie O'Brien, who was the one who told us that, again, that we had to come and talk to some of your folks. And I know that Scott Zeich did have conversations. And then again, last year, we had conversations with Jim Amon and Andres Santamaria about this very issue. We actually had lunch together. I think they wanted to do 2 other different proposals, to which we responded, you could do whatever proposals you want. We've been working on this for a while, and we would just like you to know that this is what we'd like to pursue. And they said, and we left the lunch, and that was that. And then the hearing came along, and I testified. And I think this is very important for the board to hear. When I testified, all of a sudden there was, from the Glass Association, out of the blue, the bill had been floating around for months or for a long time, since the beginning of the session. And all of a sudden the association came out against the bill. So I talked to some folks and said, why all of a sudden? This seems really odd. Our person, Scott Zeich, could not come, ironically, and testify that day because of a weather-related issue, couldn't get on a plane. And so I testified, which is unusual. I'm not usually the one who testifies for our clients, but I did. And I was asked very specific questions, one of which was, why are we the only state in the country that allows for a license? To which I want to make it clear for the record that Safelite is fine with the fact that Connecticut requires a license. But I want you all to know that the legislature can, as you know, do whatever they want. So I was asked the question, why are we the only state that has such a license? And I responded, and it's on the record and you can look at it. I responded, I'm not sure, but that's a policy decision that you made. And that's the way the law, and that's what the law is. And then before the bill came out of committee, the legislature investigated how much money. We were trying to make a proposal that would either allow the DCP to have money so they could run this sort of emergency, situation, or be cost neutral, so that the DCP would not be hamstrung, because we all know they're up to their eyeballs in a whole lot of other issues that don't include glass at all. And so we floated a proposal. The DCP, we gave it to the DCP and their lawyers. Julianne Avalone looked at it, wanted to rewrite it. The rewritten proposal went before the General Law Committee at the hearing. The General Law Committee were the people who asked about the licenses. But for COVID, I think one thing that you should know is that one of the things that the legislature was looking at was removing the license in its entirety, which I don't think is good for anybody. So I just wanted to give you that history, because we did 2 years of homework, and out of the blue, we heard that there was an issue with this bill. And I think that the point of it was that we'd like to bring in up to 15 or 20 technicians to come in when there was an emergency and when there was a backlog, an emergency being defined by statute as a weather-related emergency. And nobody in the legislature seemed to have a problem with it. So I'm sort of surprised that all of a sudden the board would. As to 2021, given the fact that we're going to be operating remotely at the legislature, I'm not certain as to what will happen. But I just wanted you to know that we won't be in control of issues that are brought before the legislature.
Well, thank you, Anita. First of all, let me address this as the chairman.
Yeah.
We let you do the history because this is the first that we are hearing about any of this. And okay, I speak for myself entirely, because I have never met you, never heard of you before, never heard of your associates before. And all of a sudden this bill comes before us. So you can understand why we looked at it and said, wait a minute, what are they trying to do here?
Yeah, and I'm confused about that. And I understand that I did not talk to you, nor do I think you were at the president at the time that there were conversations.
Well, let me just say this, okay? I've been here since the inception of this.
Right.
And I've been the chairman since the inception of it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just curious as to why my board and people on my board have not heard of it. And I think John had heard of it, he would have brought it to our attention back in 2016, 17, 18.
Well, we didn't bring the issue to you in 2016 to 2017, 2018. We were the ones getting complaints. Let me be clear. The issue didn't come up until last year about what should we do. The ground, I was giving you the setting of the groundwork for this issue. I can tell you that I talked to John Bailey, I talked to the lobbyists, and I talked to Kim Glassman, and I said, I'm being asked to make sure that flat glass people are okay with this concept. We didn't even have a bill then. And they went and talked to folks, and I don't know who they talked to, but apparently they represented to me that they had talked to people, and there was no issue from the flat glass perspective. Scott Zeich, and I will get back to him, talked to somebody from Auto Glass. I can't represent, because I didn't do the Auto Glass side. And so we felt like there was not a huge issue with this bill. It was, you know, we again are the only state that has this issue and problem. And we were simply trying to problem solve an issue. Now, I don't have any intention, nor does SafeLight necessarily, of introducing this bill next year. I will tell you that we met with some Auto Glass people and their lobbyist, and the lobbyist for the association, and out of the blue, they were all of a sudden not in favor of this bill. When we talked to Jim Amon during the legislative session, he said he didn't have any problem with the bill, nor members of his association or who he was representing, but that he wanted to advance two different issues, to which we replied, you should do what you want, but set the groundwork. So I apologize if you didn't know, but I can tell you that we did talk to people, And we did try to set the groundwork. Scott Zeich is going through his notes now as we speak, because from SafeLight, because he's very upset because he knows he had a conversation with somebody from the board about this very issue. My conversation was with Kim Glassman, who is the lobbyist who represents the flat glass people. So just for clarification, we didn't bring this bill up in 2016, 2017. We were getting complaints from the legislature. I'm up there every day, as are my colleagues from Capital Consulting and everybody else. I'm up there every day, and people were coming up saying, why is there this backlog? Why is there this backlog? And we're like, well, there was a storm. What do you want from us? And with a storm comes consequences. And they're like, well, why can't you bring people in? And I'm like, because we don't have a license. That was, I'm just telling you, we were not the genesis of the issue. The legislature was the genesis about what can you do to fix this? And so we worked with them to try to come up with a solution.
Thank you. John, are you there? John?
Oh, God. Can you hear me?
Oh, he's
Yes.
there. There he is.
All right, I had myself muted. Oh, yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Did you hear the conversation?
I
Or
did.
the history, excuse me, of this?
I did, yes. Yeah. Like me to give you my 2 cents?
Yes, I'd like to have your comment.
Sure, thank you. So, the only well, let me back up.
Let's hear your history.
Well, my history really is that, you know, I mean, I had a casual conversation with not Scott Zeich, gosh, going back maybe 2014 or 15, where they said, you know, and it was really a conversation about everything. And it came up at a lunch and somebody said, we would really like to send our, you know, be able to, you're the only state in the country that we can't send in our emergency team in emergencies. And I said, well, just, why don't you just, you know, dispatch the work to the existing licensed glass people in the state, and we would be able to take care of it. And it was an off the cuff. That was about the end of it. I never heard anything else about trying to do a bill or anything like that. When I did find out, I found out with you guys in a meeting, gosh, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And again, I called a few, you know, I spoke with the Connecticut Glass Dealers Association. Our stance, my stance, I actually talked to some other glass people in the industry, and everybody feels that we can easily handle all the work in the case of an emergency if that work is released to, you know, to all the license agencies or licensed glass companies in the state of Connecticut. So, you know, I don't know how familiar you are, but there's networks. A lot of the networks are owned by the same affiliate of SafeLight. I don't know, you know, if they release that to, you know, in the case of an emergency, we have a number of licensed, myself, Payless Auto Glass, there's a number of people that ended up backing this bill. And I went out there and talked to all these people. And we all feel that, you know, if you needed it and that emergency came, we could definitely handle the work and there shouldn't be any backlogs. I did back, gosh, probably last year or the year before, I did ask DCP investigation, and I asked the board, has anybody ever had a complaint from a consumer that, you know, they had to wait too long for a glass job? And at that time, you can see it's on the record, nobody could recall ever getting any kind of complaints about backlogs. So I'm not sure where that came from. After this kind of hit, and you know, it was kind of unanimous that we opposed it. A lot of the people, and I heard from a lot of constituents, and they opposed it. I did reach out to Scott. It was a brief conversation, and you know, I just said, hey, you know, I hear you're trying to pass a bill. We'd like to work with you. He did mention Anita's name. He said he would get back to me, and I haven't heard anything from him since. And that, I think, was maybe the beginning of the year or last year. I can't really speak. Andre's not on any boards, you know, so I don't know what Andre and Jim Amon talked about. I have no idea. I haven't talked to him about this licensing. He wasn't involved with it. I can't really say anything on that.
So John, excuse me, right now, Anita, as you said, this is a moot point because this has been dropped, this bill?
Well, so the bill, for those of you who know the legislative session, and I'm sure Leslie brings you up to speed, the minute a session is over, a bill is no longer alive. The bill has been dead since March 13th when the legislature, and when they officially ended, I guess, in May. So this bill is not even active. So the fact that it's on your agenda goes beyond me. It's funny because I've talked to Jimmy Amon a couple of times since these glass board meetings, and it's interesting, the conversations seem to be a little skewed or off. What's more important, I think, for you to know is the complaints that we got were not complaints, they were complaints from legislators, from their constituents. And the reason why it's not that Safe Flight wouldn't give the work to existing folks, John, as you know, it's because everybody had a backlog. Everybody was doing the backlog. This was meant to be a consumer friendly, you don't have to wait 5 days, we can do it, or you don't have to wait 7 days. When that tornado hit, there was plenty of work out the kazoo for everybody. That wasn't the issue. So, you know, just shifting it over from one person to another is not going to fix the backlog that exists. And, you know, and insurers were asking, why is there a backlog? And that was going to the legislature. So the issue was prompted not by Safe Flight, but by the legislature asking these questions way back when, and for us trying to formulate a solution to the problem. Now, we don't care if the bill passes or not, to tell you the truth, but I will tell you this, the legislature was very, and you can ask Leslie about this, questioned the fact about why we were the only state that licensed auto glass. So if I were this board, I'd be more concerned about that than a bill that was trying to deal with backlogs.
Well, we are concerned about it because this is the first time we're hearing about it.
Well,
as usual, the parents don't know what the kids are doing.
Well, here's the problem. This is the legislature, right? If you don't have people watching what the legislature is going to do, I can tell you it's on the record at the legislature. It's on the record. And
we appreciate it.
And I don't know, I'm sure they went to DCP and said, I'm speculating now, but I'm sure they said, how much money comes in from these licenses? And is it a budget buster, yes or no? I'm sure they did. And they were trying to decide, should we try to put some emergency system in place, or should we just get rid of the licenses? Which is better? So again, not our idea. And I'm, you know, again, I'm up there every day. We have conversations with the DCP. I apologize if there was some slip in the crack. We thought we had talked to, I was specifically tasked to talk to flat glass people, which I did. I talked to Kimberly Glassman, and I talked to her twice. And then I said, we're going to introduce this bill. Do you have a problem with it? She said, not at all. She said she went to her folks. So Kimberly Glassman is the lobbyist who represents the flat glass folks. I said, do you have a member on the board? She said, we do. And I believe she talked to the person on the board. I'm just speculating, but we had no intention of going around the board. We were trying to solve a problem that the legislature felt was an issue.
So, I mean, just to clarify too, as I said, and for the record, I don't know, and I'm not accusing anybody of, you know, not releasing work. I was just saying that when we were surprised. I think it's important to say, and we've always said, we're willing and we'd love to work with you. We've reached out. I personally reached out a number of times on this. I was just trying to give you the history that when we found out, at least I felt that we were a little bit blindsided by this. And
which wasn't anyone's intention.
Called around and, I called around local licensed glass companies, and they all said that they felt that they could do it. And actually, that's when they joined up to and hired Jimmy Amon to oppose it, me being one of them. But I wasn't alone. There was, off the top of my head, there's probably about 4.
Well, that's really interesting because Jimmy Amon told me he wasn't going to.
We didn't really know, Anita. And again, I mean, we're not looking to fight anybody. We'd love to. I reached out to Scott. I mean, I think maybe it was dead, so he didn't call me back. I don't know. But again, we've always stated, and anytime this conversation came up, that we would love to work with you. We're open to work with you. We reached out. I think Jimmy did reach out under, we talked to him, not just myself, but the other glass companies that were involved. And if there's an issue with things being backlogged, this is a first. And I can only speak for the people like myself. We felt, I mean, we're in the glass business, but we felt, and other people that hired Jimmy felt that we could handle it.
Well, and I appreciate that, John, and that's the first I'm hearing of this. So I think what the lesson is that the legislature has an issue. The legislature wanted to do something about the issue. Safe Light brought that up because the legislature brought that up. It wasn't like Safe Light said, oh, we want to do this out of the board. Frankly, they have other issues to worry about. So this was in an effort to be cooperative because they kept saying to us, this backlog, these backlogs, which weren't just Safe Light backlogs, by the way, these backlogs are not good for the consumer. So they did reach out, that we were reached out to by legislators, perhaps because our team happens to be up there every day at the legislature, and we do a lot of work with the General Law Committee and some other legislators. So they came up and had a conversation. That's how the legislature works. And to describe them as it's the first time the parents are learning, just play up there every day. As you know, John, it's a different kind of place. And so we were trying to figure out a way to be accommodating. And that's all. As I said before, I don't care if you do this bill or not. Don't do it for next year. If we don't do it, I'm certainly not going to, I certainly have no intentions, nor does Safe Light, of bringing this bill forward. But I will tell you this, and I will say it again. The result of one of the results of the legislators having complaints, not people complaining to your board, not consumers complaining to your board, consumers and constituents complaining to legislators that there's a backlog, just like they complain when their electricity doesn't go back on in a day and a half, or when their power doesn't go back on. They got complaints, they questioned us. The legislature is going to do what the legislature wants to do. We were trying to help do it in a way that would be productive. Apparently, our efforts over a period of years, talking to lots of people, what isn't satisfactory, and I understand that. But what I'm telling you is, I can't tell you what we're not going to do anything, but I can't tell you what the legislature is going to do in 2021. But I think what you should do is read the public hearing testimony on that bill, where Kevin Witkos and others asked, why are we the only state that licenses glass? Again, auto glass. And I responded, I can't answer that. That's a public policy decision that the legislature made whenever they made it. We are not out to change the licensure, but if I were this board, I'd be nervous that that's one of the solutions that they'll come up with. Because that takes care of the problem, John, right away, because then you can truck anybody you want in on an emergency, as long as they meet the qualifications of a registered. And I don't think anybody wants that.
Well, I think it sounds like, you know, just a miscommunication. And I think now we're here if you need anything. I guess if we can get copies of any complaints that people are having, because I did ask that. Also, one other thing that came up, Anita, was that the governor, and I think this was not by me, but you know, if there were an emergency, the governor has the ability to lift those license, just like they do, I guess, when the, you know, Canadians come in from when there's a big storm. That's one of the things that I learned through this.
Well, that's not entirely accurate. The governor does not have the ability to lift licensure. He has the ability to let people come out so long as their qualifications meet the standards of the qualifications of the state that they're entering into. So
well,
if you have a power company coming in from North Carolina to help out Connecticut during the 2011 storm, those people are duly licensed and are able to come in and do the work because they hold the same license.
Well, I'm not arguing with it. I'm just saying when this came about, you know, it might have been Richard or somebody else, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but they said the way it was written, the way it came to us, somebody, and it wasn't me, said, well, the governor already has that authority to do that in a case.
Well, and I can only tell you that drafts that were floated were changed, and drafts that were floated were changed, and there was a back and forth with DCP about how they would like it to read vis-a-vis the governor's. The DCP was talking to the General Law Committee, going back and forth with their drafts. So I don't know what draft you saw. I don't know, you know, just because something's proposed, as you know, in front of the General Law Committee or any other committee, that doesn't mean it's the final product, as we all know. So
no, and that's when I reached out. What we got was that, and it was said to us by somebody that the governor, whatever the wording was, it was basically in a state of emergency. They could, you know, other people could come in, and it was told to us that the governor already has that authority. And again, I mean, we're not looking to, I think that's when I reached out to Scott right around that time to say that, you know, hey, we're the board, we're not looking, we're not fighting anybody. We were blindsided. And if you want to, again, we're willing.
Well, I think I would go back to the Honorable Chairman's comments. It sounds like there was miscommunication. And I guess there was gross miscommunication if the association felt that they had to oppose a bill instead of coming and talking about it and just opposing it, which, by the way, the legislators ignored because they were going to vote out the bill or voted out the bill, and we're going to talk about how they were going to proceed with it. So once again, I am not, nor is SafeLight, going to advance a bill this year. I've said that several times now. We're not going to advance a bill. I can't predict what the legislature will do or not do. And that's up to them. If they come up with a bill that says, we'll just get, you also need to know there was a bill offered by the governor's office in front of the General Law Committee that talked about streamlining the licensing process in the state as to all licenses in the state. And it was a possibility that this was going to be combined with that bill. Again, I'm up there every day, so I hear these conversations. And so I don't, you know, the governor's office is in a mind to do less, not more, in terms of licensing. So, I mean, we've had these conversations with the policy staff in the governor's office who advanced this bill. So there was a bill in front of the General Law Committee that talked about streamlining licenses. That was that affected licenses all over in both the Department of Consumer Protection and the Department of Health. So, I mean, I'm just putting it out there that there are conversations going on that are not part of our agenda or our control. And I'm happy to have conversations and I'm happy to do this, but we're not introducing the bill this year.
And that's fair. And I mean, I think that the board is willing and would love to work with whoever. And I think it's important. We definitely, after we found out, I reached out I asked the board, and the board said I could reach out, and I reached out to Scott right after that. And I think that's important to get on the record because, again, as soon as we heard about it, I think I was on the phone with Scott within hours after that meeting, and you know, and offered to help in any way possible. As for your, and then I think after Jimmy Amen was hired by glass companies in the state, I believe Jimmy or Michael Rell reached out to you as well.
We had lunch with Jimmy and Michael Rell and Scott and with Andre Santamaria. We had lunch with Jimmy, Michael Rell, and we talked about this very issue. And then 2 other issues were presented to us that auto glass folks were interested in. One having to do with you had to have bricks and mortars if you were going to have a mobile. You know, there were a couple of other issues to which we responded. You do what you need to do. And there was no indication at that lunch when we talked about this very issue in 2020. I was at that lunch, as were 2 other people from Capital Consulting. There was no indication that there was a problem with the concept that we were trying to advance given the legislature's concerns. So all I'm saying is, I hear you loud and clear, John. We're always happy to work with people. We're pretty much an open book. I'm sorry if things fell through the cracks, but our agenda and our issue is, you know, I'm a nice Italian girl from Hartford, Connecticut. Our intention was to do the right thing and to respond to legislators. You're not going to see a formal request to the glass board. The legislators, you know how they operate. They come up to the lobbyists in the hallway and say, hey, I got 3 complaints from a constituent. They do this all the time on a variety of issues. They don't make some a legislator's not going to make some formal complaint to the board because they got a phone call from 3 constituents. How come there's a backlog? That's the conversation. That's not a complaint. That's a statement. And what can we do to fix it? You've been around the block with the legislature. They see a problem, they want to fix it. It's our job to help them fix it so it's not complicated.
Well, can I get, 2 things. I think first, I guess, can I ask you if there's a backlog and SafeLight or their network has that information, would you be willing to turn it over to the board?
Well, I certainly can. I'm going to call Scott after this call. I'm certainly, I do know that, you know, they're all operating as many people are remotely, not at their headquarters for obvious reasons. I'm certainly willing to call Scott and ask that. And he can have his technicians go back to 2018, go back to when there were storms and say, here's the average backlog for those days. I think they can give you aggregate information and they're happy to do that. But at this point, I don't think it's necessary to even, I'm glad to ask him and I will do that. If you tell me who to write to on the board, Ed, should it be you? I'm happy to let you know, or who should I write to and give you that information. But we're at the point where we're not the ones that were advancing the bill in the first place. It came to our attention because legislators asked questions.
Yeah, you can send it to Ed or Jen, that's fine, or myself, or copy the board on it. That would be great. And
so are the emails I'm assuming on the website?
Yes, they should be.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Anita, one other thing, and I think that there's another little bit of confusion. Andre hired Jimmy for something completely separate, and he's not even involved. He's not one of the glass companies that was opposing this part of the bill. And I do recall that I remembered somebody asked Jimmy if he was involved, and he goes no, because he's not. So I think the confusion is whatever you guys went to lunch with and talked to Andre, we both happen to have the same lobbyists. So that's why there's kind of a, you know, there's a gap there. Whatever you talk to him about, whatever bill he was, I think off the top of my head, his bill was something about, I don't even know.
He had two issues.
It has nothing to do, and he's not involved with the other glass companies that oppose this particular bill. And I think that might be a little bit of a confusing part.
Yeah, interesting, because his name isn't on the ethics reports for one of Jimmy's, as one of Jimmy's clients, but.
On this bill, on
anything, he's not, he doesn't pop up as a client.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I know that there was, and this is only because I know Andre and I know Jimmy. There was something that I remember, maybe vaguely, Andre or Jimmy, one of them, saying something about having a conversation, but it has nothing to do maybe with, I don't know. I can't even remember. I think it might be inspections or something to do with sand. I don't know, but it has nothing to do with this, and he's not involved on that other.
Well, that's
maybe he didn't even do his bill. I don't know.
Not that I know of. I mean, but it was too late by that time. By the time he wanted it, the date for proposing bills had probably passed. So
I'd like to cut this a little bit short, so you guys are going back to that lunch date. Anita, thank you. Thank you for the heads up on the legislature, because we do have a liaison that is there for us, Ms. O'Brien.
Yeah, I talk to Leslie all the time.
We'll be asking her to give us a report on some of the stuff that is going on there, and I appreciate that. And I think because it's not going to be brought up again, that it is dead issue, and then till it is brought up again, or before it's brought up again, we should talk to our legislatures, as you warned us to, that we should talk to them and get some more information on what is going on there. And we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Like I said before, you know, we're always through the parents that find out what the kids are doing 10 years after, you know, usually. So.
Pretty loud and clear. Welcome to my world.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Anita.
You're welcome. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Anita, for your time. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Old business. That was a part of the old business. The PSI exam review. Do we have any, is Richard here or anybody here from
Richard is here, right, Richard?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Richard. How are you this morning?
Good, but persons attended, board members attended for the black glass portion as well as the auto glass portion.
Oh, great. So we're all done with them? Not that we're all done with them, but you know, we got everything done. Everybody sent their paperwork in?
As far as my understanding, everybody did.
Yeah,
okay.
Linda, I think her name was Linda. She was going to get back to us if there was anything further that needed to be done. There may need to be some more auto glass stuff being done, because we had to take and modify quite a few questions there. So
right, and she was going to wait until she works with what she has available right now before she may come back and contact the auto glass subject matter experts to review or create additional questions for various content areas.
Yeah. Yep. So we're on the right track.
That's good. Well, we're on the right track as long as they keep the licensing.
Huh. If they get rid of the auto license, then the flat's in the same thing. So are they going to rewrite the, are they going to rewrite the law completely, because it's flat and auto? So
I don't know. Since we have no way to have human contact with some of these people, it's hard to tell, because you can't look them straight in the eye and get an answer out of them. So.
Right.
Anything, new business? Anything, Jen? Carl? She's still here?
Yeah, no, I'm
Richard, anything we should be aware of? coming down the 91 or 95?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
Thank you.
Number 5, application review. Ed and I had to review one application, but there was nothing to review because the person sent it in with no information, so we kicked it back. So we're just waiting for an update on that when we get a revised application, I guess.
Oh, Mr. Thomas Berwick. Yeah.
From Enfield or something.
Oh, he just finished the apprenticeship program. What was wrong with his application?
Oh, well, then maybe he didn't fill it out right, because he filled out an application, but he didn't attach his apprenticeship completion stuff to it. So we thought it was somebody who was just coming in to be grandfathered out of.
Oh, no, he just finished the program. He should have all this stuff from NGA.
Yeah, no, he does. He only sent us the cover page on the application. So the state was going to send a letter back to him, but it got kicked to us. So we clearly did not know that he had a certificate, a seal, gold seal. So
yeah, he's done.
Yeah, you might want to reach out to him and let him know that it shouldn't have come to our board if he had the gold seal. Do you know what I'm saying? He should have just been bypassed and he should have sat for the test.
Just sat for the exam. Yeah. Okay. I'll talk with him. Yeah. And I just wanted, go ahead.
Really just sent the cover page. He didn't give us any indication that he was an apprentice or anything, so we couldn't act on it.
Yeah, he just finished, so I will I'll touch base with him. And then I just wanted to take a moment and just thank Richard for all the help with the apprentices as they're going through. Richard's answering a lot of questions, so thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
That's why we have him. That's why I have Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else under the old business? I do have that copy of that application. It was September 28th. And like you said, it was just his name, address, and that social security and phone number. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, they have a whole checklist that they have to check off to turn it in that I give them. So I don't think they're doing it. So I'll probably do some more outreach. Thank you.
Yeah, because we didn't mean to not, but it should have come through, to the state knowing that he was a registered apprentice. So
well, I'm sure your program is run well, but you might want to just add a 10-minute thing of how to fill out an application for the state for the licensing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if they did the right thing, you fill out the form in the front, but it did not attach anything of his trade knowledge. So
yeah, I have a whole step-by-step bulleted list, but they seem to be struggling lately. So maybe a little video of how to will get them engaged.
Oh yeah, if you can put it on their phone, I'm sure they'll be able to, they'll check it out.
The more information you give, the less they.
Yeah, I know.
They do.
Thank you. New business, no correspondence, anything? Obviously not. If we had correspondence, we would know about all this other stuff that's been happening in the last year or so. And any more comments or concerns from any person present today? Carl, are you still with us? I see we got 12 participants. How do I find out who they are? The gallery view?
If you look, if you hover over the bottom of your screen, you should have a picture of where it says participants and a little icon of people, and it says 12. Do you see, if you hover over it?
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
If you click it, then you should be able to see on the right who is in as a panelist and an attendee. So
gotcha.
Everybody's here. They're just being quiet.
They're just hanging back. That's it. Well, let's see. And no comments or concerns. Any person today? The 21 board meeting schedule, February 25th, May 20th, August 26th, and November 18th. That works for everybody, I'm sure.
Just added it to my calendar.
Did you get it, Jessica?
Yep, it's all in there.
Okay. Any changes, you will all be notified. And I guess a motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll second if you want.
Why don't you make it, John?
I make it to adjourn. And thank you all.
Thank you, John. Jen, you want to second that?
Yeah, sure. I'll second.
Everyone have a nice Thanksgiving, and thank you for all for participating. I appreciate it.
You too, Ed. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And all you all be safe out there, please.